Meeting Tuesday, September 13th. The time is 7:02. I will be chairing in the absence of Mayor Daw, who's well but not here with us. Could I have a declaration of pecuniary interest?
No, we're not starting the meeting. We do open forum first.
We're not doing? Thank you. The clerk has advised me we're going to start with open forum. Thank you very much. Before we start tonight's meeting, in accordance with the town's procedure bylaw, we will start with open forum. It's 20 minutes, which is an opportunity before each regular council meeting for members of the public to voice opinions and subjects of municipal concern. Each person is required to sign the open forum register located at the table outside the chambers and will be called to the podium to speak in order. Each person shall be limited to how many? 5 minutes if there's 4 or less, but I'm going to ask the clerk how many we have tonight.
We have 7 people who want to speak in open forum tonight.
So it'll be 3 minutes each. Thank you very much. Council will not discuss or make decisions as a result of comments made during open forum, and the comments made will not form a part of the council meeting minutes. Thank you very much. So, Madam Clerk, I will start. Our first speaker is Anthony Polano. If you will come down. I ask everyone to state their name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Abel. I will be brief. I'm not here to condemn, I hope this works, it's too loud. I'm not here to condemn anyone this evening. Perhaps I'm the least perfect in this whole group, but I'm here to speak on behalf of the Italian community in Aurora and perhaps all communities that feel excluded from this council. I'm here tonight to shed light on the adverse Aurora effect that has given rise, rightfully or wrongfully, to alleged racism and discrimination by this council as to why 2,500 Aurora Italian Canadians were excluded from what was to be the Town of Aurora Multicultural Festival. To me, this festival was for all cultures, not just preferred ones. Excluding the Italian community alone says much about the councillors that organized this event that was doomed to fail as the foundations were built on quicksand. On a personal note, while you and I may have small political differences, I know you to be good and decent people. And I feel that those allegations brought by some may be subjective. Nonetheless, there is the perception and the optics that this festival has represented to the Italian community. I'm here in the hope that we may get some answers and put the matter to rest. The optics here are not too pleasing. Currently, some councillors are asking Ontario, in particular the Ontario Municipal Board, for reform. In my humble opinion, I say this, that before you ask others to reform, perhaps we should look at to reform our own house first. Then we can ask others to reform theirs. My respectful question to council is, what was the thinking by council to exclude the Italian community or any community from the town festival that is a public event paid by public taxes, in particular, taxes from the Italian community that are omnipresent everywhere in Aurora. Construction of New Aurora, food stores, restaurants, you name it. I simply cannot understand how this oversight, intentional or not, and I don't really think it was intentional, I think it was a
Mr.
point.
Polano, your time is up. If you could wrap up.
Mr. Abel, I'm done. Please indulge me. This
wrap up, please.
Is an important matter to the reputation of this council in Aurora. I'm almost done, Mr. Abel. Please indulge me.
30 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Unless you forget, your job is to work for the greater good and spirit of Aurora, be it black, white, yellow, brown, or purple. Some allege that the exclusion was a personal slight against Italians for personal political reasons that are not in the greater interest of Aurora. The proud Italian community has been divided in our community, and this matter, this exclusion, has created a David and Goliath tale that will not go away until it is addressed properly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polano.
We have a public apology from here. Last, Mr. Abel.
Thank you very much.
Quickly.
I'll move on to the next one.
Italy has had immense earthquakes and is devastated with loss and loss of life. The last thing Italy needs now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polano.
Is an insult to this council on top of the injury that we already have. Thank you so much. And please God bless all of us in you.
Our second speaker is David Hurd.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council. I just wanted to pop by tonight. Just something came into my head this week, a busy week, but positive happened was started thinking about events in the town recently. The Rib Fest was amazing. I got to say that. I was honored to do a couple artworks that got signed by David Wilcox and Haywire, and having my pictures taken with Haywire and my artwork was like, you made me a little kid, like excited for that day. The Multicultural Festival, it was at the Farmers Market. It was a very horrible rainy day, but I'll tell you, I went to the Multicultural Festival and I had a blast. I loved the dancers and the different music and the Trinidadian band that was there, and there was Hindi dancers. There was so much stuff, and it was like, and the reason why I am here is to hopefully ask that we can take that kind of energy, and it's September, and 2017 is coming. And I know that the cultural precinct is a hot topic right now, and we've got the surveys going and everything. I want you to think about something else for a second, because I think right now in Aurora, we really, really need something exciting to bring the community together. The news stories are starting to get really painful in Aurora, and the divisiveness, I think, in some respects is getting kind of tough too. And I think we have a building sitting in the town park right now, the Aurora Armory. And that building, I think, could be the anchor to that change. And what I'm suggesting is potentially is a legacy project that the community could become the stewards of making that building turned into something incredible. I'll give you an example. I've been doing some work previously with the Aurora Museum and Archives, and we wanted to help them out with some little bit of money, you know, to get going. Sean, I know, has a very tight budget. So we got some books from a store that had closed years ago in the downtown core, and some videos and stuff, and did a pop-up at the Armories on a Saturday. And in like 4 hours, we raised $520, which I turned over to Mr. Downey. Well, that kind of event, or maybe dances, community dances, family dances, events in there, we could actually raise the money to do the brick, do the washrooms, do all this stuff. In 2017, we could all be busy and together rather than kind of what's happening right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurd. Next is James Hoyce, please.
Council. My name is James Hoyes. I live at 44 Kitimat Crescent in Aurora. And this is just a little update. I'll give you a little basic history. I came before Council a little while ago about a stop sign that was to go in front of Aurora Heights Public School. And at this moment, it is actually there, and it is being used. But up until the last week, we have not seen exactly the consequences of that stop sign. And so this is basically what is happening there, and I encourage you all to come by and take a look. It is a one-car lane road on Kitimat. Only one car can get by. So it is basically a one-way or back out. There are people parking in the middle of the intersection on the T section of it because that's where they used to park. So there are people parking illegally in an intersection. They do have a crossing guard there now, but they found out that crossing guard is great for the peak kids, but they have to put a second crossing guard there because they can't get the buses into the school because there's too many cars lined up blocking the intersection into the school. So now we have a lot of things happening there. Basically, my concern was such a thing, that it would become a basic mess. And will they have a chance to work it out? Yes, I would assume they would. But as it sits right now, we have people still walking down the middle of the street because we don't have any sidewalks, and I know that that is on the slate to be done. But the biggest issue is that all the things that I was concerned about are happening, and of them, it is just cars don't obey. They roll through the stop sign when there's nothing happening. So once again, I implore you to potentially consider crossing or crosswalk instead, for the simple reason that with the new laws in Ontario, an actual crosswalk you would have to allow students to step off the intersection and onto the curb before cars can go, which would make it, first of all, safer, but also it would stop unnecessary stopping, which is now blocking buses in and out of the school. So just, I encourage you once again, come by, take a look at any day. It is a mess. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hoyes. Our fourth speaker is Kevin Riddell. Your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, Kevin Riddell, 42 Primo Drive, Aurora. I'd just like to say this is my first time being here, so I apologize if I'm a little nervous, but hopefully I'll get through this in 3 minutes. And first I'd like to say thank you for the Multicultural Festival last weekend. I had a great time, and I really look forward to attending it next weekend, sorry, see, I'm already nervous. Next year, and seeing the different ethnic groups that will likely be represented next year. The reason I'm here is to express my support for the motion later tonight regarding business signs and the language thereof. As I understand it, this is not yet a proposed bylaw, but rather just a motion to gather facts and to look into the matter. As someone who's undecided yet leaning in favor of the law, I completely support the motion to look into this, and I encourage Aurora to do so. And I look forward to hearing in the future, to coming back for my second visit and hearing in the future the results of this. As I said, I am leaning towards supporting it. I'd like to touch briefly on why I feel that way. I should mention I grew up in Scarborough, so I do know what it's like to come from a multicultural community, especially one that does have certain regions with ethnic groups and languages. I believe that the proposed rule is not discriminatory. I believe it is not exclusive. I believe it is inclusive, as the overall goal is to ensure that all members of the community feel included and welcome throughout the entire town of Aurora. I realize that not everybody speaks English, but I believe that's too narrow a focus to look at it that way. Not everybody speaks any language. I don't believe anyone here could name a language that everybody in Aurora speaks, and I believe English is our best chance to find common ground and to find a commonality that would draw us together. If you'll allow me to give a hypothetical situation, and these two languages are picked at random, imagine that an Aurora citizen who speaks only Russian were to enter the town and see a business where the business sign is entirely in Arabic. Would the Russian citizen feel welcome in the business? Would they be encouraged to go in and patronize it? Now, think instead if that sign were to contain some English on it. Now both the Russian customer and the presumably Arabic proprietor have something in common. English is the official language of the country we live in, and quite possibly both these people have children in the school system learning the English language at this time. When viewed this way, this is not about my English versus your, pick your language, it doesn't matter which one. It's about trying to find common ground throughout the community, and I believe that this proposal is aimed towards that, and I encourage you to pursue it further. With that said, I repeat that at this point I'm only supporting looking into it further. I haven't yet made up my mind completely. And to those who disagree, I'd just like to say that no matter how all this ends up, I urge all parties to remember that that's what makes us so great as a country and a town, that we can come together, disagree, and discuss these things. And at the end of the day, I will be glad I participated.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vidal. Well said. I would like to call Angela Doust. Doust, thank you.
Hi there, my name's Angela Doust. I live at 31 Tyler Street. I just attended the session over here in the Holland Room regarding north and southbound left-hand turn restrictions at Yonge Street, and I have to say I'm very disappointed that this pilot project is still being proposed to go ahead. Once again, council has ignored the concerns of their residents, which were brought forward previously. I came forward previously on behalf of the residents in my neighborhood to express our concerns. Pilot project's going ahead anyway. According to the information session, over 200 cars will be diverted off Yonge going northbound at peak hours, the same time that children are walking to Wellington Public School and Aurora High School through the side streets such as Tyler, Temperance, George, and Harriman. And there's a lot of kids, like hundreds, that use this route. How long before one of these children is put in danger or hit by a car or killed before people here are going to realize that this is a bad idea? There are other solutions to this. All-way flashing lights. I mean, take some land from the banks. I don't care. Don't divert traffic from Yonge Street onto quiet residential neighborhoods. It's not fair to the residents that live here. Okay, who's going to protect the children's safety? And what about all the noise and pollution and lowered property standards as a result of all these extra cars being diverted to our neighborhood? There's a 68 townhouse complex being proposed to be built on Tyler Street, and there's a 5-story retirement residence being proposed for Yonge and Tyler. How many more cars is that going to put onto the roads in our quiet residential streets on top of the ones you want with your pilot projects? It's not fair to the residents there. Do any of you people live in this neighborhood? Where? Temperance, north or south of Tyler? Because everybody's going to turn onto Tyler and go north onto Temperance, north onto George, north onto Harriman. It's going to be a disaster. So I just want you to please consider that, although probably most of you are not going to have to deal with, we are. And it's not fair to us. It's not fair to our children and our safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Angela. Nancy Webb.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Councillors. My name is Nancy Webb, and I've been a resident of 6 Teesdale Court, Aurora for the past 33 years. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of a number of neighbours in the Seaton and Murray Drive area. We were recently advised of a proposal to build a 4-story extension to the rear of the Kingsway Arms retirement home. The existing retirement home is a 1-story building at the front and 2 stories towards the rear, which blends into the existing neighbourhood. This part of the community is comprised of single-story bungalows dating from the 60s and 2-story homes dating from the 80s. The current proposal will place a new 4-story building immediately to the rear of the existing retirement home and directly behind 5 2-story residential homes. The retirement home will tower 2 stories above these houses on the south side of Seaton, resulting in significant reduction in sunshine. Additionally, the proposal will see a new garbage handling area being built directly behind these homes to support that, and a new truck access laneway off Seaton is planned between the rear of the existing building and a home at 75 Seaton. This proposed lane is ridiculously close to this home's property line. The concerns we are expressing are as follows. The proposed height of this structure does not fit with the existing neighborhood. Width of the laneway in relation to 75 Seaton Drive. The proposed access laneway will create additional traffic congestion, which will in turn be further compounded by the vehicle traffic accessing the Canadian Post mailboxes. 78 additional rooms will be added to this retirement home, but only 13 additional parking spaces. High potential for noise and odor to originate from the garbage handling area. At the General Committee meeting last week, it was discussed that this proposal should go to the Committee of Adjustments to review the variances and to seek a better solution. We are not adverse to an expansion of the retirement home, as it has been an existing part of our community for many years. We do, however, ask that any development fit in with the existing neighborhood and not detract from the single and two-story architecture of the community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thank you very much. And our last speaker is Mr. Eric McCartney.
Mr. Chair, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric McCartney. I'm a resident of Aurora living on Buchanan Crescent. I'm in favor of Agenda Item 10, Section II, Subsection C, proposed amendment to the sign bylaw regarding official languages. I don't care if signs are written in another language, but signs such as these, in my opinion, should include one of our official languages. It is the same, in the same font size, posting in the same offer. It is my belief, and I'm sure it is yours, and for every resident, should be treated fairly and equally in order to receive the same opportunity. This is what will not happen if we are unable to read the sign. Currently in Aurora, some well-known national chains, contractors, independent stores, and even sales representatives are posting offers and services in languages unknown to me. Shouldn't every person be given the same opportunity? If signage such as this is allowed to continue in the future, is it possible it may segregate areas within our town? We are Aurora. For your info, the Town of Richmond Hill sign bylaw states only in 15 words under Section 5.0 for prohibited signs, subsection I, and it reads, the text of the sign contains less than 50% of English or French language. On an aside, I do not think it is just for the federal and provincial governments to drop this issue at the municipal level. I would like my municipal elected officials to voice our concerns on this item with our federal members of parliament to revise the legislation within this area. It's obvious other municipalities throughout Canada are having the same issues and concerns. Thank you for your time. Cheers.
Thank you, Mr. McCartney. All right, Council, that concludes our open forum. And I want to thank everyone for coming forward. And Madam Clerk, I believe the time is 7:24. I will ask if there are any pecuniary interests or general nature thereof. Seeing none, could I have a motion for the approval of the agenda? Councillor Gardner, Councillor Thompson, comments, questions? Councillor Maracas?
Mr. Chair, this is not necessarily about this. There's been a lot of talk, and we just heard tonight in regards to the Multicultural Festival, and I'm just wondering if it would be best under new business, or if we could do it now. Maybe our CAO, Mr. Natarazi, could explain the process on how such an event, a special event, how it comes to be.
We would advise that we'll do it under new business, but thank you, Councillor Maracas, for bringing that up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The approval of the agenda, if there are any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. Could I have a motion for the adoption of the minutes? And there's several here on our page and on the monitor. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Tom. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. Tonight we have two presentations, and we'll start with Carrie Papillon, I know I didn't pronounce that right, Carrie. And Diana Donson-Young and Ted Simpson, representing the Town of Aurora Senior Center and Club Aurora.
Thank you. So as mentioned, my name is Carrie Papillon. I am with the Aurora Senior Center as the Seniors Coordinator. My coworker Diana and Club Aurora member Ted Simpson are here to talk about our Active Aging Week and our Seniors Information and Health Fair.
I think so. Yes. Hi, as you know, I'm Ted Simpson, so we can take it from there. So the question is, what is Active Aging Week? Active Aging Week is an initiative that was established in 2003. Active Aging Week celebrates the positivity of aging and promotes living well. A national initiative led by the International Council of Active Aging, and it showcases opportunities for older adults in a fun, welcoming atmosphere. The goal is to inspire individuals to try something new and hopefully adopt a wellness focus in all areas of life. So Active Aging Week promotes the benefits of a healthy lifestyle by giving older adults the opportunity to experience diverse activities and exercise in a safe, friendly, and fun atmosphere. I think we've all heard studies of recent where 150 minutes a week of exercise could potentially add 2 years to one's life expectancy. So obviously there's great value to this. The vision of all individuals, it also promotes, regardless of age, socioeconomic status, or health, fully engaging in life within 7 dimensions of wellness: emotional, environmental, intellectual, cognitive, physical, professional, vocational, social, and spiritual. The theme, very simple. Active Aging Week encourages participants to explore the different possibilities of fitness. Active Aging Week, it starts on Sunday, September the 25th, runs till Saturday, October the 1st, and it's through Club Aurora, the Aurora Seniors Center, and the Aurora Seniors Association have partnered together to bring free activities to our older adult community. A variety of fitness-related activities will be running throughout the week at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex and the Aurora Senior Center. The agenda, I won't go through all the items on the agenda. I'm sure you have hard copies, but there's a multitude of different activities that are free of charge, I believe, and obviously encouraging everyone to participate and live well. Carry over to you.
So I was asked, what is a senior? Senior is anyone over the age of 55, although I will argue slightly with that myself. And the highlight of this week for us is the Seniors Information and Active Living Fair, which we would cordially like to invite everyone to attend. It is Thursday, September 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. over at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex. And I'm proud to say we're taking over almost the whole building with vendors, fitness demonstrations. Thanks to Activate Aurora, we have live entertainment, health seminars, pickleball lessons. The first 400 people will receive a grab bag, healthy snack, and lots of raffle prizes. And in with that, we couldn't do it alone. We have a lot of partners with this. Activate Aurora has stepped forward, the Aurora Seniors Association, Club Aurora Fitness, the Older Adult Centers Association Ontario, in association with the Ontario Senior Secretariat, has actually provided us with some funding to put this together, and of course, the town of Aurora. So thank you for your time. We really hope you will come out, participate, and enjoy the fair with us.
Thank you very much, Carrie. That was a great presentation. Our second presentation is Greg Smith. Oh, did we receive the presentation? Thank you. Just before I call Mr. Smith, could I have a motion to receive the presentation? Councillor Kim, Councillor Tom, comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. My apologies. Presenters have already left the building. Mr. Smith, please come forward.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor Abel, members of council, staff, residents of Aurora, and music fans everywhere. In our historic town park on Saturday, August the 20th, we saw a nation and our community come together for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to celebrate what it means to be Canadian with the Tragically Hip. Thanks to the support of council and the town of Aurora, the Aurora Winter Blues Festival, along with its community partners, showcased an evening of celebration for Aurora by Aurorans. In Aurora, we have a proud tradition of live music, from the Aurora Winter Blues Festival, Magna Hoedown, concerts in the park, Aurora Rib Fest, Aurora Music Festival, and many, many more. I'll just go through a few of those wonderful events that take place in our town. I was amazed at who attended this celebration. I go to a lot of events at Town Park, and I was really surprised at the diversity of people that were in attendance. There are young families, seniors, teenagers, Gen Xers, millennials, like no other event I've really ever seen in the town. There was just a wide cross-section of people, and about 3,000 of them. We kicked off the night with live music featuring a young band, the Spencer McKenzie Band, which featured on bass guitar Aurora's own Jack Davies. These young musicians, all in high school, rocked the band shell to kick off the evening. In keeping with the traditions of the Tragically Hip, the wishes of lead singer Gord Downey, we collected donations with proceeds going to the Gord Downey Fund for Brain Cancer Research at Sunnybrook Hospital. There's a dashing young fellow collecting donations. To date, Canadians have contributed $533,000, and it's still growing. We also had a book of well wishes, which I have here, that was at the celebration, the Aurora Rib Fest, and it has been here at Town Hall. Here's an example of one of the entries that was made on that Saturday evening from a young fella in town wishing Gord to get well, and donated $10 of his birthday money. The night was magical. We had council roasting free corn for the concert goers, and what a lineup for corn there was. The Optimist Club was selling burgers and sausages, raising funds for youth in Aurora. I personally would like to thank Doug for all your help on this project and collaboration with our group. It was a pleasure. Town staff were incredible. Stephanie, Joanne, Erica in communications, Kelly in the CAO's office all did a terrific job. Parks and Rec staff, unbelievable, too many to mention. Ivy at Access Aurora, the Corn Roasters, John, Sandra, Tom, Jeff, Wendy, Harold, Michael, with supporting team of impromptu volunteers, Tracy, Allison, Robin, and many more in charge of butter. Volunteers, James and Lori. James Hoy's up speaking. Incredible what the two of you do for this town, and thank you very much for your help as always. All the volunteers helped set up, tear down. Glenn, Melanie, and Anthony for photos. Our community partners include the Optimist Club. Jamie and Helen from the Aurora Winter Blues. Steve Avius from here in town. Provided all screen, sound, all that. While he was away in the East Coast, he was on the phone helping us out, making sure everything was going well during his family vacation. Finally, Councillor Abel, thank you very much for your vision, hard work, and most of all, persistence in support of all live music in Aurora. And I apologize if I forget anybody. But before we make a presentation check to Sunnybrook, I want to encourage the town to continue to look at partnerships and collaborations. This not only provides Aurorans with an event, but when working together collaboratively, together we can make it a great event. Collaborations work. 3 that I've been involved with, the Lighthouse Concert in 2013, 7,000 in attendance. The End of Summer Blues concert last year, 3,000, and the HIP approximately 3,000 this year. Together we can make live music flourish in our town. Stay tuned for some very big announcements, new festivals, all kinds of great things coming to our town. On behalf of the citizens, we'd like to make this check presentation to Gord Downey Fund for Brain Cancer Research for $1,700 on behalf of all Aurorans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. If you want to come to the middle, perhaps we'll just do that presentation. Could I have a motion to receive the presentation, please? Councillor Tom, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Questions, comments? Councillor Maracus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg, thank you for coming and presenting. I think it was a great event. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed making the corn with everyone else. Unfortunately, I did have to go home and make sure I washed those clothes thoroughly because they really stunk bad from the barbecue. But with that being said, I think it was a great event, and I agree with you. I think the amount of work that the volunteers within our community do when working with the town is we can achieve amazing results, and I really appreciate the effort that you and the rest of the volunteers have done. And so thank you, and I think it was a great event.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gardner? I'll take Councillor Gardner first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was a wonderful event. Thank you very much. Do you have any real idea of how many people attended?
Well, it's difficult because of the fact that we had the live music early on, and there were people coming and going. In fact, we had quite a few people that had come down from Newmarket partway through, so it was very difficult to know the numbers, but basically people were right back to the trees at the Armory, so that's a pretty good attendance, and based on figures of other events that we've had there, we estimated in around the 3,000 mark.
Thank you to everybody for their work on this.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, absolutely. Ditto of Councillor Maracus and Councillor Gardner, but the spectacular work coming together. You know, the events that we host are usually really, all of them are really special, but there was something about that night, obviously, a true Canadian, true Auroran spirit everywhere. People coming together, everyone chipping in and helping. There was such a feeling of community. It was just outstanding, and Greg, to you and everyone on Winter Blues Fest and team done an extraordinary job with staff and everyone else. And I do want to mention in particular the sound system that night. I know that I think it was James Hoy's put together. At one point, you know, I was able to just step away from the crowd a little bit and look at how many people were there. And I don't know, more than 3,000. It was full house, and the sound was crystal clear right by the Armories, way over at that end. And I thought, what a just spectacular night. And I just, again, thank you, Councillor Abel and everyone else who really pushed it forward, and just a great night to remember. We'll never forget it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it was done on a shoestring budget, and it was done in 9 days. So it was a real collaboration. We thank everyone for being involved. Could I have all those in favor of the motion to receive, opposed? That carries. All right. We can move on, Madam Clerk. I'll take my cue. Public service announcements. We usually start on our left. So if we could, Councillor Kim.
I have none today, thank you.
Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention that although the score wasn't great, I had a great time at the Aurora Tigers home opener Junior Tigers game this past Sunday. Bit of a tough first period, but anyhow, it was a great event, and I really appreciate the invitation from Jim Thompson, and I know there was a number of councillors there as well. Just to highlight, though, they did honor, in honor of the 9/11 tragedy and the anniversary that it was on Sunday, they did have members of the New York Fire Department up, and including Aurora firefighters as well. So I thought it was an excellent night, both on the ice rink and off with the honoring of the firefighters. So it was a great event, and look forward to the next Aurora Tigers game, which is this Thursday night against Newmarket. So we're going to hope to turn it around. Thank you.
Councillor Tom was at Center Ice during the official face-off with the firefighters and other notables, and especially the two firefighters from New York, one from Brooklyn and one from Central One, and NHL former great New York Ranger Steve Vickers was going to host the New York firefighters afterwards. So it was a really special night, and I don't know that the score reflected how good it was, but it's a long season. Councillor Kim, you did want to mention something?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was thinking public service announcements is more about the future, but Councillor Tom reminded me that we can also use the opportunity to thank what happened in the past. And what was discussed earlier, I just want to thank all of staff who put so much effort into organizing the Multicultural Festival. Despite the 20-minute rain shower, we still had good numbers, and I think overall everyone was very pleased. And I didn't have anything to do with the day-to-day or in terms of the during that day, but just being there early to witness what happens in organizing a festival of this scale, and seeing the Optimist Club. I mean, seeing 5 young people just do their thing is just amazing. And just to comment on the Aurora Winter Blues Fest, the organizers like Mr. Smith, he's all over the place along with the Hoys, and when I see them at the chess tourney, he's sponsoring a hole, he spends his time, and the Hoys, it just makes me want to cry, and I'm just very grateful that Aurora is full of people like them, and so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Humphreys.
Yes, dear Mr. Chair. Well, there's so much that I'd love to say, but I'd like to start off with just saying this Saturday, as a reminder, Apples and Honey Fest at the Aurora Farmers Market. It's going to be a very, very special day. September 17th, Town Park, as always, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's lots of games, prizes, music. It's going to be a really great time, so hopefully we'll be out and have a great time, everyone together. I also want to mention that Multicultural Festival, although I had to leave around, I think, 1:30 due to a family function, I really enjoyed every minute, and it was a great start. Just amazing kickoff right off the bat with that weather. Just a nice, full, really lovely attended from from the onset, and it was wonderful to see all the different cultures represented, and I just want to thank everyone who was involved to make it such a great event, and I'm looking forward to many more coming in the future and coming together and just enjoying everyone's heritage. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Thompson.
Just a couple mentions, on the town's website, we have a couple surveys running. One has to do with the cultural precinct that was mentioned earlier, as well as we're heading into budget time. And so we invite the public to participate in our citizen budget survey and give us their feedback as we look to 2017.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I would also like to congratulate everybody on the success of the Multicultural Festival. The first year of a festival is very difficult, and I thought it was a wonderful turnout. So thanks to everyone. Councillor Kim for suggesting it. Also, we also had a very successful Doors Open, so thank you to everybody who participated in that. And it's been mentioned before tonight, but volunteers are crucial.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marakis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just got two things. First, as has already been mentioned, the Multicultural Festival. I thought it was an excellent day. I think everyone enjoyed themselves, and I just want to commend staff on all their hard work that they did in developing and bringing this forward. And I'm looking forward to next year. I also wanted to bring up, I'm sure you'll touch on it a little bit also, but we have the Hoedown coming this weekend. So 16th and the 17th. Last year they raised $464,000, and I'm sure this year we'll break that. And you know, and there's the other day I just wanted to speak to, because we've been talking about volunteers. There's the Wednesday where it's quite amazing, actually. It's where all the volunteers get together and they learn about their jobs that they're going to be doing, and to help put on this amazing event that has been put on in Aurora for, I think it's over 27 years, I believe. But that day, Wednesday in the tent, you have like thousands of volunteers under this tent, all there, you know, to put on this show, which is just incredible. And so I just want to once again just say how lucky we are to live in a town where we have so many people that are willing to step up and do so much for our community.
Thank you, Councillor. And I know you have for years volunteered with the Magna Hoedown. So it's a community that does that, and great work. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention the resident that came to the podium. She's been here at least once before, and I think the concerns that she expressed about the turn restrictions on Yonge Street have to be addressed in some way for those residents.
Thank you, Councillor. There was an open house, and that
Right.
will be conveyed to us, the communication there. And Councillor Marakis, you did inform me that we're not talking about it tonight, but it is at the region. All right, so I usually read some of the more other happenings going on. And Councillor Thompson mentioned the cultural precinct, so and the budget. No, I appreciate that. Starting the week of September 12th this week, Metrolinx will begin construction on 2 pedestrian tunnels at the Aurora GO station, and this will limit parking at the structure in the first phase of the infrastructure needed for a future 2-way all-day service along the Barrie corridor. So if there's any more information on this project that you would like and the other routes affected, please visit gotransit.com. Join Leaf, which is a great organization, Town of Aurora and York Region for National Forest Week, celebrating the benefits of our urban forest. Have fun planting 300 new trees and shrubs in Machel Park. And remember to wear closed-toed shoes. It's all ages welcome, and it's Saturday, September 24th from 10 till 12. Activate Aurora is set to launch a major campaign to transform Aurora into Canada's most active community. And Aurora will declare its intent to become Canada's most active community and will issue a challenge to the rest of the country to follow the same path. And the launch is Sunday, September 18th, that's this Sunday, from 1 to 2 at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex. Teens 12 to 17 are invited to an evening of fun in the high-tech world of Project Gnosis. I hope I've got spelled that right. It's an IT academy and it's this Friday, September 16th at 7 p.m. at the Loft in the Aurora Family and Leisure Complex. The Town of Aurora's Youth Volunteer Fair is on Thursday, September 22nd from 4 till 7 at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex as well. And this is a great opportunity for youth to learn about volunteer opportunities. Don't miss the Seniors Information Active Living Fair, which again, I would just remind is Thursday, September 29th, and they did a great presentation. Everyone's looking forward to Hoedown. They've added the Friday, that's the 16th, and it promises. My favorite part is the talent contest for the Hoedown Showdown, and we saw the lineup at the Rib Fest, and it was just absolutely fabulous. I would like to recognize Magna has started for its 2nd year for special students to attend a Hoedown lunch and Magna puts this on at their expense, and it's going to be from 11:30 till about 2 o'clock on Friday before the whole event. So they're keeping the activities going, but they've included all those that would never normally have an opportunity. And I went last year. Councillor Maracas, you were there. What a fabulous time that was. And of course, the Saturday with Paul Brandt, it should be just fabulous. They've raised up to $9 million for charitable organizations throughout not just Aurora, but our surrounding municipalities. And really, we are so lucky to have someone like Magna put this on, and the volunteers, and it really is something. And lastly, I would just ask everyone, Terry Fox Run is this Sunday after the hoedown. It'll be starting a registration at 9 o'clock. It's at our Aurora Senior Center. This year we're going to be running through the Arboretum. It's for all ages. You can walk, you can bring your pets. They just don't allow bikes, so it should be a lot of fun. There'll be some light entertainment after and something to eat, so fun for everyone. And of course, Terry Fox is a huge name in Canada. So thank you very much. There's, I think, anyone else want to say something? It's fairly long. Okay. So we've done the public service announcements, and we're moving on. It's almost 5 to 8. I'm going to ask for determinations of items that we're going to require separate discussion. And I'll start on my left. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I waive procedural bylaw and engage the audience with respect to, I believe there's a couple of groups that might be interested in certain items or motions that we might want to push forward?
We certainly do that, but we normally pull the items first. So if we can do that, Councillor Kim, then we can poll the people in the chamber, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much.
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Tom? Councillor Humphreys? Councillor Thompson? Councillor Gardner?
1 sub 4.
Councillor Maracas?
1 sub 3, 1 sub 7, and 1 sub 9.
Madam Clerk, you have advised me that we have to pull item 2 on our agenda. It needs direction. So could I have someone from Councillor Humphreys pull that? Thank you. Any other items? I'll close it. Okay. Next is the adoption of items not requiring separate discussion. I'm looking, Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Tom. I don't see any comments or questions, so I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, do we have any delegations this evening? There are no delegations. Councillor Kim, I think now is the time I'll ask the audience if there's items here that they would like. I'm looking here. Item 6, 1, 4. Thank you. 1, 7. Okay. So could I have a motion to move those items forward, please? Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Maracas. I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. We'll go to item 1.4. Councillor Gardner, you pulled that item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern at the last meeting was that the approval be a conditional approval depending upon how much it was going to cost us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see that reflected in the motion, but I'm not sure.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. I'm going to ask if perhaps Mr. Nadarosny, our CAO, could talk to that.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. The intent was to give, for council to decide whether or not they would agree to entering into a future lease should the funding agency agree to fund the work. So the details of that lease would come back to council, and at that time they would know what the extent of the budget is, and would also know if there's any request of council to support the funding. So at the time we were just looking for that agreement from council that they would be open to entering into a long-term lease so that we could tell that to the granting agency.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. There was an amendment made last week, and it looks to me that this is the same recommendation as was on the GC agenda.
I do believe you are correct, and I'm just looking for the clerk and see if we can put that back up on the screen for you,
Yeah,
Councillor
I
Gardner.
do agree. It is missing the amendment, and there was an amendment that said that council agrees in principle to enter into the lease
Thank you.
agreement.
So how
So we'll make that amendment now and make sure it reflects
Thank you very
the
much.
general committee discussion and direction.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to item 1.7 was the second one we pulled. And Councillor Maracas, you pulled that?
I'll move as is.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Maracas, would you care to start us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just briefly wanted to make a quick comment. I know we spoke about this last week, you know, and we are referring it to Committee of Adjustment, which I'm all for, and I think we were in agreement of. And but I just, you know, I didn't say it last week. I just want to say, like, it's very frustrating seeing 4 stories being dropped in the middle of a subdivision neighborhood, and I think that that's a bit of the frustration, and we look at it, and we do realize the fact that it falls within our zoning, and it's allowed for within that, and I guess that's a bit of the frustration part is that it's an outdated, I guess an outdated policy we can look at. So I'm hopeful that maybe moving forward when we do our comprehensive zoning bylaw review, when that's done, it will correct this issue, hopefully, and we won't run into this problem.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Humphreys and then Councillor Thompson.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I agree with the comments made by Councillor Maracas, and in terms of that, you know, we do have stable neighborhoods policy, and I look at the height of the building, and I know the zoning is what it is, but just such a concern that can happen in a neighborhood that's been existing in that state for so long. So I'd like to ask, is there do we have a date when the new comprehensive zoning policies will be brought forward to council? And in that, would we see things of this nature sort of related to the neighborhood itself, so that people won't have to worry if they've got a house, 2-story homes, and right next door they're going to get this 4-story, 6-story, 8-story building? So just a concern on that. I don't know if someone
I'll
can
ask
answer
that question. Mr. Nadarasi, I think I would ask Mr. Ramuno to answer that question. Thank you.
Certainly. Through you, Mr. Chair, we are planning to bring the zoning bylaw, comprehensive zoning bylaw, back to General Committee sometime this fall. We're looking at a October-November date.
A couple of cycles and we should be there. Thank you. Councillor Humphreys?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for that. Okay, I guess at this point then we don't have an idea of what that'll look like in that area. I mean, if there's already plans to change that, or I guess do we have to wait till fall time frame? I don't mean to put Mr. Ramuno on the spot. If it's a weight thing, that's fine too.
I'll ask Mr. Ramuno.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have had, as council is aware, a number of public meetings, and our discussion to date has been that it is difficult to downzone some existing sites that have had that existing zoning. But again, we'll have that discussion when we do come back again.
Councillor Humphreys?
Thank you. And one more, and I appreciate this going to the committee adjustments, so that's great. Any any hope at all that we can go back to the developer and have a discussion in terms of the impact to the neighborhood, and is there a way to expand the area without having to go so high? I mean, the footprint is changing, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to be cognizant of the impact and the loss of sunlight for those buildings, those homes in the area. So just thought I'd bring it out there.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, whenever we look at a planning application, we certainly want to ensure that there's some conformity and suitability with the homes in the neighborhood in the area. And we all spoke last week, and I think we all share the same concerns that, you know, you got a residential neighborhood that has pretty much a low profile, and the height is of a great concern. So through you to Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Ramuno, has that message been communicated back to the applicant, or has there been any conversation between last week and this week? Is there anything you can share with us with regards to those concerns that were raised last week?
Mr. Ramuno, please.
Certainly. Through you, Mr. Chair, I did have a discussion with the applicant's owner's representative who is here. He has submitted his variance application, so notice will be circulated to the surrounding owners and a sign placed. The variance application will be heard at the October, I don't have the date handy, I think it's the first week of October meeting. I did have a brief discussion with him with respect to whether he was willing to, you know, go back and revise his application. You know, his initial response was, you know, he wasn't really willing at that point, because they did come in with a what they felt was their best plan. Notwithstanding, they could have gone higher, and they have been working hard on, as I mentioned last week, trying to integrate the existing, you know, the 4-story expansion into the existing building, in keeping with the, you know, ensuring the minimal impact to the surrounding neighborhood. But again, I'll continue to have discussions with him as we proceed to move forward with his variance applications.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the town needs to, or is actually mandated to have infill and intensification in our stable neighborhoods. I think the figure is about 40%. So this is perhaps a warning, perhaps an example of things we might expect, and I think we need to be very careful about our stable neighborhoods and what we allow in them. And also very careful about what we require of a developer during the process, like security, fencing, dust control, because there's going to be a lot of effect on our neighbors. And I am bringing forward a motion. What I found the most important thing about this was the lack of information that was given to the residents. They did not know what was going on, and had council passed the motion, it would have been done without the residents having any idea that it was at the council table unless they looked on the agenda. So I think that's something that needs to be corrected.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other questions, Councillor Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, it's unfortunate that we find out that in this particular zoning that developers can build up to 28 meters in any of these types of properties. And I'm empathetic to residents who have to suddenly come up and wake up and realize that they could have a building hovering over them. And it's also unfortunate that the OMB doesn't acknowledge, you know, sunlight and quality of life variables, and that's unfortunate. And you know, but there's something to be said for stable neighborhoods, literally, and continuity, and having it conform to the surrounding elements and buildings. And you know, my question to through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno, you don't have to answer this tonight, but you know, if you know, in your discussions with the developer, if you can, you know, look at all options, including, you know, other potential land that might be available, you know, within the town boundaries, any kind of incentive that, or not, or maybe that's a poor choice of words, but anything that might be worthwhile for the developer, if you could look at all those options. And I believe just a few days ago that the province passed I think it went through final consent, I could be wrong, in terms of the intensification targets from 5,000 units per hectare to 8,000, I believe. It's been talked about. I believe that's gone to royal consent, and so that's a concern as well. But if you could, in your discussions with the developer, if you could look at all options within the town boundaries, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to touch on something that Councillor Gartner mentioned, is that the fact that we need to, I think, be somewhat careful moving forward. As we all realize that the province is looking at the land use planning, and they're looking at those intensification targets. And right now the percentage is at 40% or 45. They're actually looking to bump that up to about 60. And possibly up to even 80, so which could change the whole way everything is developed within these stable neighborhoods. And considering the fact that our official plan is under review right now, so I think this might be some of the stuff that Mr. Ramuno could take into consideration while we're actually going through that review process, and make sure that our official plan actually speaks to a lot of these things that we've seen over the past couple of years that have come forward to us and that we've had issues with. And so therefore we can put that language into our official plan and strengthen it so we can develop it in a way that our community stays unique to the way we want it.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no others, I would just like to comment, if I could, that the service area, to me, is very impactful on the one or two properties. And I'm just looking at the land survey, and if it was on the other side where there's institutional, which is a school, that service area would make more sense to me, and putting your garbage and your other activities on that side where it's not impacting residents. It would be students, but it really is only functioning Monday to Friday. The impact on a resident that's living there and the noise, I think we would ask reasonably that if they could just reverse the mirror image, it would make sense to a lot. We did have that same comment with recently with a property near the Sark, where the resident brought up concerns about garbage compacting and lights, and that developer did accommodate that concern. So I'm very sensitive about the snow plowing and all the noise that would go right down that laneway within feet. So I'm hoping that that will be heard, and perhaps if he could flip and do a mirror image. Councillor Gardner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Muno, one of the residents mentioned that there needs to be a second entrance to the nursing home because of the number of units. Like right now, the fire only requires one road. But I would like to know, perhaps not for tonight, but where is that break between the number of units and requiring an extra point?
Thank you, Councillor. If there are no further comments or questions, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries, Madam Clerk. We have item 3, and that was raised by Councillor Maracas.
I'll move as is for now.
Seconded. Councillor Kim. Councillor Maracas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Simonoskas, was there ever any consideration when the RFP came back to looking at separating 3 different streets and looking at them on an individual basis and what the cost would be?
Mr. Simonoskas.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, actually, the pricing that we have can be broken out for each project. The costs are in the tender. I wouldn't want to disclose those costs publicly, but we could break out elements of the project and to bring it within the $100,000 budget.
Thank you. So I guess, I mean, without having a figure in front of council, I'm not sure how willing council would be if I made an amendment. I mean, I think that I'm looking at Kennedy Street, and I think that was the biggest one that had the most concern, and I would hate to see that go for another almost 7 months, 6 months, 7 months before anything even happens on that one. I would have no problems making an amendment right now to look at possibly moving forward, or at least with the Kennedy Street aspect of this instead of the other two, and then have the other two go out for tender later on. And so, I mean, if I could put that amendment forward, if there's a seconder, we'll see how it goes.
Very good. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Humphreys? Any further comment?
Well, I guess, and this is what I said just a couple of seconds ago, without actually having a figure, I don't know how willing the rest of the council would be to move forward with that. So I don't know if the amendment should be that we get a report back and then we can decide, or should we put out that figure right now? I'm not sure.
Okay, are there others? Councillor Gartner, there's a bit of a huddle, but go ahead, please.
Thank you. I would be in support of that motion, but I think we need to have some more information coming forward to council for hopefully next GC. So that could be part of the motion.
Part of the motion, Councillor Marakis?
I was just going to say, and I'd be fine with that if everyone feels comfortable, if we bring it back to next GC for us to make a decision on it, I would be perfectly fine with that.
I'm going to ask Mr. Simonauskas if that's possible. I'm sorry if I can catch up with what the question is. The question is, could you prepare a report on what it would involve to have an RFP just for that one part of the Speed Cushion pilot project to Kennedy Street for next GC?
Through you and to you, Mr. Chair, I would suggest, because I can disclose that Kennedy Street will be under the budget, and the issue with this tender is that it's over budget. If council chooses to award Kennedy Street tonight, that would be fine. What I would like to do, though, as part of just informing council of the actual value, is speak to purchasing to determine how we disclose that information, so you at least understand what the value is that we're awarding it to.
And I think we're getting a nod yes on that. So we'll follow up, and we'll have that for us next GC. All right. Councillor Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, the amendment before us is to get a report for next GC with respect to just going ahead with Kennedy. And so we're not allocating any funds or approving any RFPs at this time.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'll call a vote. All those on the amendment in favor? Opposed? The amendment carries. We'll go back to the motion as amended. Any further comments, questions?
We've got to take out the canceled. I think we take out number 2.
Thank you. Mr. CEO has advised correctly, I believe, that we remove the second paragraph. And do we have to do that officially, Madam Clerk? Or would it just be understood?
We'd probably just do another amendment.
Could I have an amendment to remove that then? Councillor Marakis seconded. Councillor Kim, comments on questions on removing the cancellation of the tender? I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That amendment carries. I'll call a vote on the motion as amended. Are we all ready? Hang on. Councillor Thompson?
If I may just ask a quick question of the clerk. You know, if we're asking for a further report next week, why wouldn't we have just deferred the whole motion rather than cancel it? Then amend it and delete it, and then just deal with this next week?
Madam Clerk?
You could have done that.
As it is, Madam Clerk, we're going ahead with the motion as amended.
If someone puts deferral on the floor, it takes
Unless someone wants to put an amendment to defer, and then
I'll put forward that
takes
amendment
precedent.
to defer.
Councillor Thompson, seconded. Councillor Gardner. Any questions on the deferral? Councillor Marakis.
I was just going to say, if it gets the job done intended from the beginning, I'm all for it.
Further comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Two more items.
Number 9.
Councillor Maracas, you pulled item 9.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move as is.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kim. Councillor Maracas, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I spoke briefly about this last week, so I just once again, we are at council, so I just wanted to make mention on the amount of work that was put in within the working group. 17 councillors from across the province getting together, you know, and had the municipal summit, very successful. I also wanted to thank Councillor Thompson for all the work that he did, and basically thank all the work from elected officials right across the province in getting this together and acknowledging that there is a problem when it comes to the Ontario Municipal Board. And, you know, and the fact that we all worked together and we got the province to listen, and they've taken notice, and they have their consultation paper coming out in the fall, and the minister has made mention that the recommendation that we've come up with will help form part of that consultation paper going forward. So I think we're on our way, as I said last week, to some true and bold OMB reform that is much needed for us as municipalities to stay unique, as I mentioned earlier. And I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I think these changes, hopefully coming up, in combination with developing our official plans, will help us keep our communities the way we want to see them grow, and, you know, keeping that uniqueness about us. So once again, I'm proud of all the work of every elected official that has helped with this and developed this, and a lot of people put in a lot of work, and I just wanted to thank them for that.
Councillor Maracas, if I could, you made there in your report last week, there was a suggestion that you put forward that encapsulated your efforts and Councillor Thompson's, and also the fact that you talked to the minister at the AMO in Windsor, and it was referred to at the major assembly of over almost 2,000 delegates. So if you would speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So the main recommendation, in essence, is for our official plans to be adhered to at the end of the day. So if an application comes before us, as we normally have, and it's asking for amendments, and we decide not to approve those amendments because it doesn't better our community, we don't see the benefit of that, and basically it's not. And the way I like to say it is, if you want an exception to our zoning, you better be bringing something exceptional for the community. So, in essence, if that does happen and we deny the application, well, that's not appealable. So that is the main recommendation going forward: is that ROPs, once approved by the province, should not be appealable. I sat down, spoke with the minister. It was a very productive conversation. And as I mentioned, he's looking to help have these recommendations form the consultation papers that are coming forward by himself and the provincial government. So it was, it's, as I mentioned, I truly believe that we're on our way to that bold reform that we've asked for, and I think it's going to be getting there. But if I could, Mr. Chair, I actually would like to make an amendment, if possible, that council endorse the recommendations, and that I don't have the specific wording, but I can get it. But if we could send a copy of the recommendations to the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Bill Morrow, to the Honourable Kathleen Wynne, the Honourable Patrick Brown, Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Andrea Horvath, Leader of the NDP, and all MPPs of the Province of Ontario, and that we send a copy of the recommendation to all municipalities in the Province of Ontario for their consideration.
I have a seconder for that, Councillor Thompson. Comments on the amendment? Questions, Councillor Thompson?
And thank you, Tom, for Councillor Maracas for adding that. And it's unfortunate that Mayor Dawes not here, because I think one of the things that would be nice as well is to ensure that the chairman of the region chair gets it as well, and that they put it on as well. And so perhaps we can add that if necessary.
I think that's a good idea as well. Councillor Maracas, you're nodding yes to the regional chairs?
Yeah, if we could add the regional chairs could get a copy also for their consideration.
Further comments, questions? Seeing none, on the amendment, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. And now, anything on the main motion? Would anyone? Councillor Thompson?
Thank you. I think that a lot of credit has to go to Councillor Maracas. I know that throughout this process, he has spent umpteen hours emailing many, if not all, of the councillors and elected officials throughout Ontario. He was actively searching various town websites and municipalities for information about OMB and those that passed the motion as well. And as far as I know, he did it mostly old school, just cut and paste and do it the hard way. And I think that a lot of credit goes to the work that he did tirelessly throughout it. So he was gracious enough to thank all committee members, but he himself deserves some credit as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Very nice. Any other further comments? I'll call a vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries unanimously. We have one item left, and it is on our council agenda, and it's item 2. And Madam Clerk.
So the General Committee met in a closed session on September 6, 2016 to discuss identifiable individuals related to the committee appointments. And after confirming with the recommended appointees, the following motion should be voted upon. That the appointments of Ian Bryan to the Canada 150 Ad Hoc Committee, Jennifer Salt to the Environmental Advisory Committee, and Neil Aslan to the Heritage Advisory Committee, as recommended in the General Committee closed session on September 6, 2016, be approved. So we just require a mover and seconder for that motion.
Could I have a mover for that? Councillor Kim, seconder. Councillor Thompson, thank you very much. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries unanimously as well. That concludes the consideration of items requiring separate discussion. We will now move to notices of motion, for which have been given. And Councillor Kim had, if I could, I'm going to poll and ask that we go to Councillor Kim's proposed amendment for signed bylaw, because we still have people in the chamber. Could I have someone move that to be brought forward, please? Councillor Maracas, seconded. Councillor Gardner. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. That carries, Madam Clerk. So we'll go to Councillor Kim's. It's item C on our agenda. Councillor Kim, we're looking for a motion to be brought forward.
Yes, I'll bring forth the motion as is, please.
And I'll get a seconder, Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Kim, if you would speak to your notice of motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As in most motions, more often than not, they're initiated by residents, and as elected officials, we're elected to listen to residents and bring those issues bring those issues forward for discussion, and this motion here is no different. And I'd like to start off by saying that we are not voting on anything tonight. There's not going to be any bylaw that's going to be set tonight. It's really a motion to have staff investigate and bring back options. And English and French, when this was brought forward, when this item was brought to my attention, automatically, came to my mind that English and French are fundamental characteristics of the Canadian identity. I'm a proud Canadian, and I'm proud that Canada accepts people from all walks of life from all four corners of the world, and we welcome and embrace diversity. It's that's the Canadian identity, and that's no different here in Aurora as well. And one of the human pillars that bond people is language, and I believe that was mentioned by the resident during open forum. And I believe that having a common language is critical in creating community and having those shared values. There's always outliers, of course, but I believe being able to communicate with one another is important. It can be said that it would not be welcoming to force businesses to include English in the sign. But from the flip side, to some passersby and potential customers, having a sign that does not have English in it and could be construed as exclusionary as well. And this perspective of who is offending who can come from both sides. For businesses, having a sign that includes one of the official languages can only be good for business. And that, I believe that was also mentioned during open forum. Why wouldn't having a sign where a majority of the community can understand the sign not be good for business? Staff would offer, of course, proper support to assist a business should they need assistance in any capacity, and that includes translation. I don't believe it's the intention of business owners to intentionally exclude anybody because of their signs, but to some English-speaking residents, it may be perceived that way. The motion is to start the conversation, start the dialogue on what is good for Aurora. Having languages, neither of the official languages, may work in certain metropolitan areas such as Toronto, where you see different neighborhoods. You have Chinatown, you have Little Portugal, even Koreatown, and it works in a larger metropolis, but in different regions of Canada and in terms of the scale of the municipality, different characteristics persist. And I believe that is the reason why the federal government only legislated at the federal level to federal institutions and did not enforce this upon municipalities because, as I just stated, the flavor of every municipality is different in different parts of Canada and certainly depending on the scale of the municipality. And the motion includes English or French because they are the official languages. But as one astute resident stated in his communication to me, that this is mainly about English and not French, and that's obviously true. We know that in towns that closely border Quebec, they do have different bylaws that incorporate both English and French, or just French in some cases, depending on the population. But certainly, the intent is English, but that is certainly up for discussion as well during this investigation period. It was raised that this motion is a sudden reaction to the sudden change in the town's demographic, and I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that when you have a change in residential demographic, it'll eventually get a change in the business demographic as well. And naturally, when you have change, residents will let council know about their perspectives. Now, I enjoy hearing other people's views because they help to shape my own. Progressive people adhere to their principles and at the same time are willing to change when prudence demands it. In this investigation, it is my hope that staff will partner with these businesses and communicate with them and gain feedback as to if they do have unilingual signs, then let's get some feedback as to why that is. We want cooperation. We don't want it to be unilateral in nature. In the end, just to conclude, this motion is about building community. There's a fundamental question that is surfacing here. What does community look like, and how do we want to get there? And there seems to be three critical questions. A, is asking a business to have dual language signs necessarily represent intolerance? In my mind, on the contrary, it represents tolerance on both sides of the fence. B, are businesses who deliberately install signs that have no English represent intolerance or insensitivity on the part of the business owner, that they only care to service those who understand the sign. And 3 is choosing A, in order that all parties understand, an unreasonable solution. So those are the 3 critical questions that I was able to conclude with. So I'll leave that up to council for active discussion and dialogue, and and I look forward to an upcoming report, which I hope will come, which is stated in the motion by the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Comments, questions? I have Councillor Thompson and Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you. I certainly look forward to getting that report back from staff. I support the motion. I also think, as Councillor Kim mentioned, it's an opportunity for us to engage the business community, to work with the Chamber and get feedback from those business owners, to get their perspective as well. And I share the perspective of the residents who spoke at Open Forum, that really it's about being inclusive, being open for business for all, and I look forward to staff's report when it comes back later on this term.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everything's been said, and I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's other comments or questions, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I also support the motion. I thank Councillor Kim for bringing it forward. It's not something I particularly would have thought of, but I think it's important.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. We will go to notice of motion A, which is Councillor Humphreys. This has been deferred, so we thank you for your patience. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And maybe before we even begin, I think
I need a seconder for your motion, if you don't mind. Councillor Gardner, thank you very much.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and I may need the clerk's support on this one as well, but I do believe that there's been some significant changes in the policy for support for the Ontario Autism Program. And initially, back in early summer, there was a real threat to the ABA, the Applied Behavior Analysis Program, being somewhat discontinued and only applicable to children under 5 years of age. So it's very concerning. But there has been some real movement forward in terms of not only keeping the program, but also enhancing it and removing some of the threat that was initially conveyed to the public. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things, but I do believe at this point that we're not even need to move forward at all with this motion. And some of the things just at a very high level, that there's a letter that has been sent by our MPP to clarify some of the changes and actually benefiting additional support. There was a wait list of over 2,000 children waiting for IBI, and they have been removed from the waiting list and actually going to be receiving applied behavior analysis services and support, from what I understand, if not in the near future, already have been engaged. Not only is the program going to maintain its $190 million that Ontario invests in autism services for youth, children and youth, there will be an additional $333 million added to the program. That the children will not be 5 years and under applicable. It will be all youth and children up to higher levels of youth age, obviously. And just a lot more focus on the program. There's also quotes from the Minister of Children and Youth Services, Minister of Education, and more specifically the Alliance Against the Ontario Autism Program, which are very heartened in the change of the government's approach and in support of what the recommendations are moving forward. So I'm really pleased with the change of government direction, and I believe at this point that the motion is no longer required.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. It's heartening to hear everything you've mentioned. Madam Clerk, if the notice is to be withdrawn, could you please tell us our process here?
A motion to withdraw would be in order.
Could I have a seconder for that? Councillor Kim, comments or questions? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank Councillor Humphreys for bringing this forward. I know I was following this in the media. There was some good reporting from CBC, and I did speak to MPP Ballard about it. There's never enough money, and it's hard to know where to put it, where it's going to do the most good, but the situation here was unfair, and I'm pleased to know there are changes.
My comments are basically, Kerry's Place has done a fantastic job in our community, and we are all supporters of the challenges that they have. The stats bear out that this is something that needs more attention rather than less. So again, thank you for bringing that to our attention, Councillor Humphreys, and we're very pleased to hear the news that's come forward. So all those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you very much. And our last item for which notice has been given is Councillor Thompson on the Governance Review Advisory Committee. So, Councillor, I'll ask for a seconder. I've got Councillor Marakis, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, as I laid out in the notice of motion before us, it has typically been the role of council to appoint a council compensation review committee to look at any recommendations for the compensation of the next term of council. But, you know, as we have heard, the province as well as the region are both looking at changes. We know the province will come forward with ranked ballots, and there'll be a question asked of this council to look at that as well for the next election. The region has engaged into a governance review of their own with a report pending at the end of December. I've heard a number of different things, including them looking at a structure similar to Durham, which may mean the increase in number of seats throughout the region. And so I saw it as an opportunity to put an advisory committee together so that you know, they provide an additional perspective for this council to consider when we're looking at things like compensation or even governance review. There is some time sensitivity. If there are some significant changes and we want to enact them for here, we need to put it in place by the end of 2017. And so by moving forward with this now and having the committee in place, it gives us an opportunity throughout 2017 to explore, to consider, to engage the community and make a decision on any of these issues. Some of the feedback I've gotten is for the most part, people have been focused on the third point about council compensation structure and governance. And really at this point, you know, that's just a possibility. It really is predicated on any changes that the region might make, or if this council wants to reconsider some of the earlier questions that led out of it. But if we already have a committee established, then it makes it easy to pose these questions and look at it as opposed to dealing with it in a reactive manner. I'm just trying to be proactive as we move forward. I know that the clerk spoke to me about ranked ballots, and staff will be coming forward with a report as well. But now this also gives an opportunity to present it to that committee, and then also for them to come forward and provide them with their thoughts on it. The other thing I've placed in there really is while the committee is open to any member of the public, you know, I think that some thought should be given and preference given to former members of council, and giving them an opportunity or inviting them to participate in the committee, because as we've all learned being around this table, that it really is a unique role. There's no way to really learn other than just being a member of council and on-the-job training. And so I think they bring a unique perspective, and so it should be encouraged to have them on the committee and provide that perspective as we in the end make those decisions on those issues. So happy to answer any questions members of the committee may have.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any comments, questions? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. Question. Is the intent to have this a completely public committee, or will there be councillors on it?
In the past, if I may, in the past, the Council Compensation Committee, I believe, just dealt with members of the public, had no members of council. So my perspective would be similar to that.
Thank you.
But again, it's up to this council to decide.
Thank you. I agree with that. I agree with everything that's in the motion. Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Any other questions? I'll call a vote then. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. All right, do we have a regional report? No, we don't. New business, general information. Just to switch things up, I'm going to start on my right. Councillor Maracas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a couple. Through you to Mr. Ramuno to start with, the Doan House. I've had lots of comments from residents. It just seems like it's just sitting there. Nothing's happening. I know we had conversations with what happened, and we do know that unfortunately it does have to come down, but it's sitting there. And so I think a lot of people are wondering what's happening.
If I could, that's the Doan House is beside the post office on Wellington.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bermuno.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. I had staff speak to the owner just last week, requesting an update. They advised that they are mobilizing their forces, and this month, September, they are to demolish the remainder of the building and proceed towards finalizing their site plan agreement for the new build.
Thank you.
Councilor Maracas.
And through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno also, I'm just, I drive by there all the time, and I think we all have seen it, and I'm just wondering, even though it is a construction site, I do think that our property standards do apply to it. I mean, when you look at the back, the grass is like probably about 10 feet high, so I'm just wondering if maybe if they can clean up the site so it looks a little bit somewhat appealing, like not that it would ever look appealing at this point, but so it doesn't look as bad as it does. If that could be taken into consideration.
Thank you. I'm getting a nod of approval. Mr.
I'll
Bermuno.
certainly put another call into him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, and then I have just two more. I know we had a resident come and speak about the left turn restriction, and I know Councillor Gartner mentioned it also. So through you to Mr. Simonoskis, I do believe it was at the region this Thursday. So I'm just wondering if you could just explain to us what occurred.
Mr. Simonoskis.
Starting through, Mr. Chair, the report that was on the regional council was deferred to October, I believe, to allow for Mayor Dodd to be present for that meeting. And we also had our open house tonight. So once the report does go through regional council, we will bring a report back to this council summarizing the region's position as well as the feedback we received from tonight's open house and I guess confirm direction.
Councillor?
Thank you. It's just something you said there. I guess that just brings me another question, I guess, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure who would be able to answer this one. So it was deferred because our regional representative wasn't there. I'm just wondering, will all business that has to deal with Aurora, will that be deferred or referred, considering our regional rep is not in attendance? I just want to know if business for Aurora will be handled at the region. And if anyone could answer that for me. Is this normal practice at the region, or?
I'm looking about. Does anyone want to? Mr. CAO, Mr. Nadarosny is going to.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the last thing I'd want to do is speak on behalf of the region, but I would see this more as a courtesy under these circumstances. I know there were some councillors that had some questions. I did hear that, and so I'm guessing that they just thought it would be best to put those questions to council when Mayor Daw was present. I wouldn't think that all business related to Aurora would cease without the person there, but again, I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of regional council.
Okay, I guess we'll wait till Mayor Daw gets back and maybe we can ask him on how the procedure actually works at the region. Fair enough. And then the last one, we did also have some comments about the Multicultural Festival, and Mr. Chair, you said to bring it under new business. So Mr. CEO, I'm wondering if you could just explain when we put on special events, how does that work basically from council to the event?
A brief overview?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nadarosny.
Certainly. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll speak specifically to the multicultural festival, since different events take different tacks depending on the nature of the event and the involvement from council. But on this particular event, as council knows, the initial idea came from council. It was Councillor Kim who advanced the motion, but there was a motion approved by council to create a multicultural festival. We sought direction from council on dates and venues, and some general ideas about the content and the intent of the day that was proposed. I believe we also came back on a separate occurrence and asked council to consider a small budget to advance the day and give us a little bit of resources to pull the event off, and that was approved by council as recommended by staff. So basically, with a little bit of money and the direction that we had received, staff proceeded to organize the event. The event was advertised, and we asked any cultural groups that were interested in participating to get in touch with us so we could put them on the roster and plan the day accordingly. We did get significant interest from many community groups, as obviously many groups were involved on the day. So we responded to that interest from the community, and we set out an agenda accordingly within the budget that we had. And so on that basis, the advertising was done, and the event went off. And while I was out of town and not able to attend, I hear that it was a success. So I think as an initial event, staff and council should be commended for advancing it. It worked very well.
Councillor Maracas?
Thank you very much. That's all for now.
New business, and we'll go to the next person, Wendy. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. As a follow-up to Councillor Maracas' inquiries, I'd just like to know how this was advertised for interested parties.
I'll ask Mr. Downey.
To you, Mr. Chair, it was advertised in the notice board on our webpage, and I believe it was for 8 weeks. I'm sorry,
you.
Stephanie, would you like to?
I'll go to Stephanie.
Gardner.
Thank you.
It was also on social media as well.
Thank you very much. Oh, also.
New business? Go ahead.
The delegation about Active Aging Week, I couldn't understand. Is it a municipal, a provincial, a federal initiative? And could we declare the week of the September 25th to the 1st as Active Aging Week?
I do believe, first of all, that the proclamation would be appropriate and could be done. And from what I gathered, this is started in 2003. Oh. And I think, if I'm correct, there was about 6 partners involved, so it involved the province and agencies as well as the town.
Thank you. It's a great initiative. I didn't get a chance to speak to the delegation, but it's a great initiative, and I'm very pleased that it's happening.
It's going to be a pretty full event. They're taking over the AFLC, so it should be really good. Councillor Thompson?
I'd just like to sort of add on to the Multicultural Festival discussion. You know, I think it's concerning to hear some of the comments earlier tonight, but through you to, I'll say Mr. Downey, and you know, I know Shelley Ware does a fabulous job with many of the events that we have in town, if not all of the events. But like any of the other ones that I've experienced, I mean, there's always a period afterwards where yourself and special events team look at them and continue to hope to grow them and make them even bigger and better year after year. We've seen that with RibFest, certainly. So would it be fair to say that you'll be getting together with your team, looking at the event and looking at ways to improve it, and the hope in the long term is to continue to grow it and add more and more entertainment, more and more food vendors, more and more groups represented? Would that be a fair comment?
Mr. Downey.
To you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's a fair comment, and it is a process that we do for all our events. And if you recall, during the day, we had volunteers going through the crowd with surveys, asking questions that assist us in helping determine what changes need to be made or should be made to the event in order to make it bigger and better the next year.
And just as a side note, I took time to visit Stats Canada website today. You know, they all keep demographics of all municipalities, and it's interesting to note that The residents of Aurora, if you look at the site, indicate that you know, there are 80 different languages that are spoken in our municipality, according to Stats Canada. So hopefully we'll get to the point where all 80 languages are represented.
And the province will assist in the funding. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things. You know, John Lombardi started his multicultural festival as the Chin Italian Picnic, and then it went on to the Multicultural Picnic. So everything starts somewhere, and I think it was an amazing start, and I'm very proud of our staff and our team for doing what they did, and I know it's just going to get just bigger and better every year. Just a couple of things. A resident came up and mentioned about the stop sign at Kitimat. There's big concerns now. Do you know if we can have someone, staff, take a look at what goes on there and monitor if there needs to be an adjustment? I know it was a secure, you know, it's sort of a safety issue for parents and students in that corner, but if we're causing other problems that can cause more of a safety concern, now I'm a bit worried. It's almost like we do something to fix something and then other things fall out. So could we ask staff to take a peek at that and monitor?
I'm looking at Mr. Simonauskas, and he's indicating, would you comment, please?
I have notes for staff for tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, is that left turn? I know I had something else, but that's it for now. Thank you.
I can come back, Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd just like to follow up on Councillor Marakis' inquiries to the Doan House. And just to follow up and just to confirm and to make public, just to re-clarify what Council had asked of that owner, and that was that they were going to be replicating the facade of the building that is currently there but has not been demolished. But when they do rebuild and come to us for site plan, just to confirm to Council, they will be replicating what is there now. Just so if I can get Mr. Ramuno to comment on that.
Mr. Ramuno.
For you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. The new build will replicate the original structure, the original facade.
Councillor Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ramuno. I'd just like to also add that we did ask if there was any materials that could be salvaged from the Doan House as it currently is constructed, whether it's construction materials or anything inside the house, whatever. I know we did ask about that as well, so I do hope that you relay that information to the owner and get some staff members out there to see what there is. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramuno, could you comment on that, just because it is significant? Anything, will we be supervising them? We don't want to have a situation where they knock it all down and said, geez, we forgot.
To you, Mr. Chair, we did, I went out with staff and the owner when this came up, I guess about a year ago, and we did take a look. There really wasn't much to salvage, but he's willing to turn anything over to us. So, you know, those front pillars are something maybe that we want to add to our salvage program. And of course, he has no issue with giving us any material that we want.
Thank you very much.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just, I think there's a great photograph of former Mayor West. I think he's helping salvage a door of the old Fleury House, and so that just came to mind. I think that if we, you know, just look to anything that we can salvage from that building, that would be great. Thank you.
Councillor Kim, new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Downey, can you update us? I think when we were talking about the Mavernack Park, you'd mentioned that their initial work would start in the fall in terms of grading and preparing the land for the next stage for 2017. Can you confirm, will there be some grading or some work done at starting the fall? And could you verify the completion date for next year, please?
Mr. Downey, and if I could, we have got an RFP and
through no, that's why I was just confirming with the treasurer on. So we haven't got to a point where we are going to tender yet. We are preparing the tender documents and the specifications for the park. The design has been completed, and we're moving forward with the detailed design now, and preparing the tender documents. It will then go to tender, and I said we were hoping to be able to award tender and start at least their grading and servicing of the land this year. Yes. So that's still on our agenda, and we're hoping to be able to do that.
Councillor Kemp?
Yes, and can you confirm the completion date for next year, please, approximately?
Generally, it would be it'd be available in the fall. It would take certainly as we start in the spring. It'd be a summer construction, and we should be able to open it around a year from now.
Great, thank you. And one other item through you to Mr. Simonoskis. Could you give us an update on there is an underpass or a bridge connecting the 2B to the 2C lands on Hartwell Way? I haven't been there myself in the last couple of weeks, but I've had a couple of residents email me wondering when that would be completed. Can you answer that, and whether people can bike through or walk through that underpass?
Mr. Simonoskis, this is where the second bridge that the town will own, I believe, on Hartwell Way.
Yes, so the bridge, I believe, is complete, but it's not open to traffic. I can confirm, and what I'd like to do is actually confirm with Marco and his staff with regards to pedestrian access. The reason why it's not open to traffic is there is a risk of infiltration essentially through a construction site, because much of 2C in that area is still under construction. So that's the reason why it's been kept closed. The plan is to actually have it open near the end of 2018 or pending completion of most of that development area.
Thank you.
It's also a part of the wildlife park, so I can appreciate the sensitivity to the construction dust and whatever. And Councillor Humphreys, that's right. You had another item. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. And I thought I'd bring it up just because it's something that lately we've had some property standard issues come up, and I'm just wondering, in terms of the growth in the community and bylaw resources for enforcement, do we have any view on how that's going, or is there going to be a review, or do I have to put in a special motion for that? Because I'm just a little bit concerned. There's couple of how residents have been approached me on some issues here and there with homes that have been leased, and real challenges with some of the tenants. It could be just because it happened. I'm just wondering about that, if there's any view of that.
Yes. Absentee owners and leases, perhaps I could ask Ms. Van Leeuwen if she would comment on that. Property standards.
We understand that this is a growing concern in the community, and we are planning on developing a strategy to deal with these in the next coming year. In terms of resources, that's a budget item and would have to be considered during the 2017 budget deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think that's important, and I guess we'll see something at budget time if there's going to be an increase in there. So I do believe there's some things changing for sure. So, thanks.
Yeah, the landscape is changing, so, and duly noted. Thank you. All right, Council, I think we are now into the reading of the bylaws. I have a motion for the bylaws. Should I list them off? They're right here before us. There's 3 of them. Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Marakis. Comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Could I have a motion for the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Marakis, Councillor Thompson, all those in favor? And can I have a motion for adjournment? Councillor Tom, Councillor Kim, all those in favor? Opposed? We are now adjourned. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. Thank you, members of the public.